my opera was able to use the palm oil, the nuts were able to use their plain nuts, and they developed things. And so there was no poverty.
I think it's only fair we kick off because it's a heated topic, and anybody who joins in later will be great. Yeah. The key topic today is poverty in Nigeria. We talked about education in Nigeria. We've covered politics in Nigeria. We've talked about grassroots in Nigeria, and we've talked about how we can make things better. But we know that we have to keep that conversation going. This week now, we are focusing on poverty in Nigeria, not poverty as a thing to be looked at in a negative way, but being real with what the situation is. What is the cause of poverty? What can we do to alleviate poverty? And what is going on in terms of projects out there, plans out there to help alleviate poverty? And then the value within even that poverty that we have, it could be an opportunity for many. We could find leverage in our poverty in terms of when we give back and things transform, we get rid of poverty. What can we get from a society that doesn't experience poverty if we were to focus on getting rid of it? So what we normally do, we try to see if someone can set the tone. So Mr. Ty, if you're on there, please, if you can set the tone for us. And guys, like I said, it's a chat, so expect to be called upon or your mic to be unmuted to add value to the conversation, or at least to, just give your take on the issue.
There are contributing factors that enables poverty to grow and damage as much as it is in our homeland. And for 60 years after independence, that's 60 years in about a month and 10 days, we still haven't gotten it right. No, Nigerians are not crazy. Nigerians are not stupid. There is a problem, and there are problems. But the major problem and the main problem, in my candid opinion, ladies and gentlemen, is our Constitution. The Constitution, I'm coming back to education and enlightenment about our people as well. The Constitution, the provision of the Constitution will never let a society grow. And that's how I see it. What am I talking about? Now, there are some 68 points, exclusive, 68 exclusive lists under the provision of our Constitution that enables the ownership of everything around the country to a central Abuja, formerly Lagos. When we had the regional system, Awolowo was able to use the cocoa and the process of cocoa to build so much free education and so, yes. My opera was able to use the palm kernel and the electricity generation for Aba and is it Aba? Yeah, Aba and somewhere was from the Oji River, and it was uninterrupted electricity, maybe really, and things were thriving. Business was thriving in Aba and all those areas. But the ownership went to the central. Is the Constitution that allows this. The Constitution allows the government to own firearms, the police, the army, the forces, everything. And whoever is there has the authority and the power to do and undo, as we see. Now, they won't let us have a constitutional conference or referendum for us to change that. Why is this agitation for Biafra and Oduduwa and all of this? It's because people are deprived, people are tired. And it's just, Nigeria is ungovernable with that Constitution. And that Constitution will continue to ruin. What other things that the Constitution has actually done to enhance poverty include, the seizing of assets, those kind of things. No society will grow and it's the Constitution that allows it, and they won't change it because they know, there's just so much going on with this problem of our Constitution. And the 1999 Constitution is just a reflection of the old one that they brought with just little amendments, all for the purpose for whoever is there to get hold of everything that we have. Our politicians see businesses and foreign investors as competitors. It won't work. They don't create jobs. 1.2 million NYSC corpers every year, and they are not taught to be creative. How can they get employment? Nobody will thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, no society will grow. Poverty will thrive, and they'll keep digging down and down if that constitution is what we want to still, put our minds into. Because that's just my take for now. Thank you.
The reason why it's good like that, because you see, we were looking at it from not really a different point of view, but from a level of this poverty we are talking about. Why is it there, and what is the reason, and what can we do? And especially looking at farming, how can we get rid of poverty? But you've highlighted something that, to be honest, we didn't really factor into the discourse, but it's amazing you said that. Because if we do have a constitution on a level that is flawed, that means a lot of things are being held back. So you have a lot of redundancy when it comes to projects. It could be even just general relationship with people. If the constitution is flawed, then there's an issue. So my take is that at some point we're going to have to jump into that, or maybe as we discuss along, we would highlight that. So we have set the tone now. So we know we have a fundamental problem when it comes to governance and the constitution. So let's look at agricultural orientation before we go into further discussions from an agricultural orientation point of view, right?
Thank you very much. I really want to first of all appreciate the conveners. This is my first time, and I please want to introduce myself. My name is Eugene Ozum. I'm the Director General of Delta State Orientation Agency. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
I want to deepen a little, just permit me to deepen what the last speaker heart to heart I just talked about.
Right.
He talked about the Constitution. In my view, there are three fundamental issues that is affecting two fundamental issues: the Constitution and orientation.
Right.
And in line with the Constitution, what they're talking about is actually unbundling Nigeria. Unbundling Nigeria. You see, no axis of this country will grow with the Constitution, with the laws that we have as it affects power, for example. Each region is supposed to grow, each federating union regions are supposed to grow at their own pace with a healthy competition. For example, in Delta State, an IPP project generates electricity in a place called Okwa East Local Government Area, and it's thrown into the national grid. So an investment in power in that direction cannot fall back to the people of Delta because it may not be the priority of another state or region. Now let's look at tax. If you go around Lagos, you see a whole lot of breweries and alcohol brewing companies and all stuffs. Without prejudice, they're doing a great lot. I appreciate Lagos for that. And they generate a whole lot of tax, VAT from that. But you also agree with me that in Jigawa State, or for example, Kano State, the Hisbag group is building, breaking down the bottles, pulling down MBL bottles, and at the same time, the tax generated from Lagos is shared to that state. It's without prejudice, it sounds crazy. The tax generated from alcohol, from the sale of alcohol through VAT, is shared to the same state that may not allow such in their client. Then you look at aviation. There's a whole lot as a hub that every state can do. It depends on the priority. Like, for example, Delta State built an international airport, but Anambra State is doing a cargo airport. But the functionality of those airports lies on the Federal Airport Authority.
Right.
Then let's look at maritime, for example. We have the two seaports. We have the Warri Port, we have the Port Harcourt Port, we have the Cocoa Port, and we have another river port here, for example, in Delta, that the state government or the region cannot take charge of. So unbundling Nigeria as an entity, when we unbundle it, and then the pay royalties to the center, that's exactly what he was saying. Now,
Okay.
running away from that, let me talk about orientation.
This is in alignment with poverty, right?
Yes, in alignment with poverty, yeah. Let me just take a few seconds to talk about orientation.
Okay.
Orientation is the mindset, the mentality of the people. Like I often tell people here in Asaba, I say, look, with the road infrastructure, the hospital infrastructure, the tourism infrastructure, and all government is doing, without the right mindset, work done is zero.
Awesome.
There's always a gap between the government and the governed. Now, the difference between advanced clients and what we have here is just the mindset of the people. Corruption is mindset. People believe that they are taking their national treasury shares from corruption. Whereas in Germany, the German police will tell you, if I do bribe, I'm pulling down my country.
Yeah.
So yes, they tell you I'm pulling down my country and my country first. That's what the American will tell you and the Englishman will tell you. So the mentality of the people, no matter what we do in terms of easing of poverty within our client, the mentality of the people, the constitution of our people, are two critical problems that we need to address.
Okay, Eugene, thank you very much. And going forward, like I said, on the call, this is exactly what we want. You come in, you drop your value, and we engage on it. Now, looking at the constitutional orientation, from orientation point of view, and I can assure you we've had that conversation constantly on this platform, and I'm hoping that you would, probably continue to be one of the frequent value-driven guys that we have here, because we need that. Now, the orientation has been a case issue, but now we are dealing with actual things that are causing these problems. For instance, look at farming, for instance, right? Today's topics is centered around farming because we know that Nigeria is one country where if you throw anything up and it lands on the ground, any seed, it can grow. So why are the people hungry? Are we saying we can't feed ourselves? I know somebody from the chat now was saying, it looks like poorest member of the societies are people engaged in agriculture. Is that entirely right? So the question out there is, how do we now enhance our modern day thinking to enable wealth based on agriculture? This is something I'd like to push to. Let me start with somebody I know who is already doing stuff on ground. There is an organization here called IBWU, and a few of their members are here. I know they're doing stuff. Whatever it is that they do would alleviate hunger on a level. If I speak to Tom Brown, Mr. Tom Brown, and say, hey, look, based on what you guys are doing, right, can that be linked directly with alleviating hunger within that community? And then what values are there? So we can run away with that, and then we can see how we can support and collaborate with government or with individuals. Yeah, Tom?
IBWU is a not-for-profit organization standing for It Begins With You. And we've got several initiatives, one of which is from the agricultural sector in relation to hunger alleviation that you did mention. We do other things, which I wouldn't get into at the moment, but from the hunger perspective, what we do realize, and you actually stated something which is quite funny, that if you throw any seed up and it lands on the ground, it will grow. Nigeria, at least its West African area, has got one of the most alluvial soils in the world. It's quite interesting. 20 years ago when I was in Nigeria, Kellogg's was actually in Nigeria to try and see how they could use the maize and the corn for their typical cornflakes and all that. And what problems they had, the positives were that they had one of the best corn brands growing in the north, particularly in the area where I grew up in Kano and in Zaria and Kaduna area. The downside with it was things pertaining to pesticides, quality, maintenance, storage, and all that stuff didn't allow them to proceed with it. Food basket of the nation, potential. Zimbabwe was close to it. Why do we have the problems? It's all down to, I would personally say, probably first and foremost, corruption, mismanagement. The lack of planning is a key issue regarding it. The over-reliance on oil and gas sector, and the fact that the agricultural sector is not looked into or invested into. We've got so much land, if I'm not mistaken, probably just under 1 million square kilometers radius in Nigeria, 190 million people. And unfortunately, we are known under the United Nations classification as one of the poorest countries in the world, with every known natural resource in there. So where do we start? I guess is again going back to the grounds, going back to the old school in relation to people going back to subsistence farming, sorry, in relation to growing things. rice, for example, I'm told that rice and chicken, the staple diet in Nigeria, we don't even have capacity to be able to keep the nation going. We're having to import. I grew up in the north, in northern Nigeria, and there are a lot of alluvial soils there. There are people who I know that are actually growing rice and selling and actually exporting rice.
Is it
I do know of
individuals
a
or
particular,
organizations?
sorry, yeah.
Are these individuals?
Individuals. I do know of a particular company which I actually independently sponsor, and I'll get to IBWU shortly. And what they do is they export a lot of cash crops, a lot of spices are being exported out. A typical example is a lot of the cash crops that we do have, whenever they're exported out, they're not probably prepared, or it doesn't go through the final stages of preparation. It has to be sent to places in Far East Asia to be processed, and they tend to sell it at 7 to 8 times the price itself. Right. So that's the export side. In relation to staying within Nigeria itself and being self-sustaining, there is a problem in there. And again, it's down to, if you look at it, it's down to purely, in my opinion, government interventions, the fact that governments are not sponsoring that or are not putting that on their radar to be able to invest and give people the necessary loans to be able to move things forward. So what we've done in IBWU as a result of the COVID initiative initially was to feed, and again, people will probably correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've fed with the assistance of JCI, probably between the span of 1,000 to about 2,000 people during COVID. We then decided that we needed to take a step forward in relation to giving people the means to be able to farm and to be able to create a sort of livelihood through that support. Right. And currently people like Olumide, who I believe is probably on the call as well, we're trying to see how we could get involved with soft loans to try and grant those kind of facilities to people to be able to start seeing how they could farm. So it's early days with that. We've got other initiatives that we're looking into other than farming, but we'll get into that shortly.
I mean, that was excellent. Thank you very much. I think if you look at I shared my screen earlier, I'm just going to share it again. So you're completely aligned with what we are trying to unlock from a value-driven point of view, which is how do we enhance modern day farming, as a key enabler for wealth. So what you're doing obviously is what we are looking at, especially from the diaspora point of view, because we tend to be doing a lot of things in silos. And part of the challenges that we face when we're pushing this kind of engagement is people coming back to say, no, this is not going to work. No, it's not work. You're wasting your time. We don't want to be caught up with that because we already know that there is value in what each and every one of us is doing, even just the conversations. Now we look at community impact. I know Eugene mentioned about stuff before, but what we didn't talk about is the impact these initiatives are having within the community in terms of alleviating that poverty on any level at all, right? So let's hear a take from someone else now who has maybe done something similar and they can see that impact within the community. If you look at the situation, Sandra, for instance, here, Sandra, I know you run a charity, and I know part of what you guys are doing helps with alleviating poverty on a level, by either supplying schools or trying to create programs to help. So if you can look for that link for us to say, okay, look, there's a direct link with what you're doing, and this is the impact. And then we can go into talking about poverty as a tool to empower us, because we know people are suffering. Collectively, how do we now empower ourselves to give back on that level? So yeah.
Thank you, Saul, and good evening, everyone. So it's very interesting what the speakers have said so far, and I've been jotting down a few things that kind of resonate with me as to the reason why we have been classified as one of the poorest countries in Africa or even the world, which is in a way a very sad situation for Nigeria, that is so populous and also full of brilliant people, and yet lagging behind every index that you kind of use to measure success of a nation. And I think it goes back to what one of the speakers mentioned in terms of orientation of our people. I think Nigerians, as we are, and as strong as we are in terms of our mind our acumen, and all of those have kind of lost our way in the way of challenging each other and saying, when you see something that's wrong, you actually call it out. You know, we used to pride ourselves in those days when you're walking down the street as a young person and you're doing something wrong, and your neighbor or a stranger even that doesn't even know you will call you out and say to you, what you're doing is wrong. These days we celebrate people that are doing the wrong things. We give them the airtime to showcase how they've done so badly, and then we cheer them on. So it goes back to education, you know, and education doesn't necessarily mean academic education here. It's about orientation, it's about knowledge, it's about empowering people to be confident in their own self and their own knowledge, and to know that they have a right. You know, if you're being born into a nation, you have a right, and that nation owes you something. And what does that nation owe you? It owes you, you know, the liberty, the freedom to be the best that you can in yourself with the talent and the gifts that you've been gifted by your creator. And it owes you the opportunity to kind of, you know, excel as much as you can within yourself by creating environment, by creating the platform, by creating the structures to allow you to do that. We have fallen by the wayside in Nigeria on that, on every front. Our leaders, past and present, might want to deny that, and I say they are in denial when they travel around the nation and other countries, which they do on a regular basis, and they see the difference between leadership in the countries that they travel to and their own leadership, and yet deny the fact that they have done wrong to the people of Nigeria, to either the young or the old, just to the people of Nigeria. I really do not know how they could defend, you know, the position that we're in right now as a nation. So for me, it goes back down to the education of the people. We need to find a way to reach the grassroots and educate them, orientate them, let them know that if a wrong is done in their name, on their behalf, is called out, and they don't have to be fearful. Because I think one of the things that I think people are not coming out to speak up is because they're afraid. You know, people in power are now using that power to suppress, you know, their fellow human beings. They have no right whatsoever to suppress other people just by saying, let me breathe. Allow me to breathe. Allow me to grow in my own nation, you know. So for me, how do we do that? How do we start to align all of that, you know, in terms of orientating people, educating them, giving them that confidence to be able to challenge, and also for them also to take responsibility, because people tend to just rely on government and government alone. Who is government? We are government. The people, ordinary people are government. They need to realize that and recognize that, and then say, I am going to contribute my own share to making it work for Nigeria. Not that I'm going to take someone mentioned, you know, I'm going to take part of that pie. I'm going to take my share of that pie. If you take your share of that pie, someone else is going to go without. People need to realize that share of that pie is for everyone, and it should be equally distributed to people. Not that you take a chunk of it and you leave the rest for people to scramble on and find their feet, if they can find their feet, if they don't get trampled on, you know, whilst they're looking to take part of that share of the cake. So for me, it links back to education, and we need to start with the very young ones, because to be honest, I almost feel that we've lost the opportunity with the older generation, with the middle range age group. You know, we need to go back to the smallest, you know, nursery, primary school, and start to educate them and start to reorientate them.
Great stuff. Sandra, I really appreciate that because, you know, going back to education, like you said earlier, it's not just academic education. It could be innovation, it could be vocational stuff, but at least getting something in there that would alleviate poverty. If you look at the situation now, you've highlighted that we need to go back there. So let's look at innovative ideas or lack of ideas, right? There's a guy, Richard, on the call who I'd like to give, if you can, tell us a little bit about your project and how that is helping us, or rather how that is being presented as an innovative idea that can help alleviate major concerns we have within community, deal with threats as well, and look for solutions for poverty. So if you want to tell us a little bit about what you're already doing, that sits into our program, and then we can all have a general conversation about multiple ideas that we can do. So let's kick off with IBU, Richard, please, if you're there. I think he's trying to unmute.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Rich.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Let me just tell you quickly that I'm highly excited to be in the company of folks who are thinking about solutions.
Great.
And who are looking forward, because truly, those of us in the diaspora often don't realize it, but we're perhaps the last opportunity for positive change in Nigeria.
No, we do. That's why we're here.
Yeah. The reality also is that many of us are hitting our fifth or sixth decades in life, so that our time for impact and energy is actually running out. And I tell people with all bluntness that often enough, Nigerians are individually brilliant, but collectively mediocre. And because we're collectively mediocre, our individual brilliance becomes irrelevant. So that until we're able to transform individual brilliance to collective brilliance, we'll just be backing and spitting in the wind. So, I'm a part of IBWU, and in addition to that, I'm part of another nonprofit with a health focus. I'm a pediatrician by profession. Nigeria has the second highest infant mortality rate in the world because of poor, inadequate, poorly trained healthcare workers and poorly equipped healthcare workers as well. So we go and we train healthcare workers, especially in rural areas, and on programs and interventions that save the lives of newborn babies. Whenever I get a chance, I let people know that more than 700 babies die in Nigeria every single day. Every day, not a month, in a day. And pertaining to IBWU, I'm a board member for IBWU, and we're undertaking a farming initiative. And the focus of the farming initiative is actually to support small-scale farmers in the rural areas. We have picked a focus area as Ekiti State, and we're putting together a full package that involves helping farmers with seed inputs, with training, information, expertise, helping them with storage, and also getting products to market. And in addition to that, we're also putting steps in place to support them with small loans. We won't be giving farmers money, but we'll be giving them asset-based loans. And we're going to employ some agricultural technical experts that have book knowledge and also practical agricultural knowledge. We're in the process of selecting crops. And one of our members has graciously offered through their family connections, will be able to get hectares of land to lease in Ekiti in order to start the intervention. So we're excited about that. And we've also been receiving inputs from an organization called, through one of our contacts rather, in an organization called 1 Acre. 1 Acre, some of you might have heard of 1 Acre Fund. 1 Acre Fund supports millions of farmers, especially in East Africa. And they have a beautiful, beautiful program, and they've achieved remarkable success. So we'll be tapping into some of the principles behind their success to put in place for the farmers. The the reality is that we're in a position to influence positive change even outside of government. But I also want to emphasize that as much as we lay emphasis on the things that we can do on our own, I love the fact that you mentioned silos. Personally for me, one of my personal goals is in every opportunity that I get, and also with IBW and beyond, we need to break down the silos, because synergy is key amongst those who care and who are stakeholders.
Right.
And interestingly, I find it funny that those who want to help in Nigeria are focusing on individual efforts, and they don't work in collaboration. And part of the reason is the issue of glory versus impact.
Right.
Like I tell some of my friends that because you don't want to share the glory, you're trying to do it on your own, but you're losing out on impact because your footprint is small. So that we need to build a lot of synergy amongst well-meaning entities. And interestingly, the people that have held Nigeria to ransom, they actually collaborate quite effectively to render the evil that we all suffer from. Thank you.
That is where the reverse brain drain comes into play, because we start this podcast, those of you who have listened to us from day one, we talk about the reverse brain drain, which is while the evil are planning their own, we can be planning good on the side. It's a good thing we have the director of orientation for a state here. So maybe Eugene, again, you could give us a minute or two to say what, based on what Richard has said, based on what Sandra said, based on what you have actually said in terms of orientation, right? Out here in the diaspora, we are coming together to see, okay, how we know what orientation is, but from your point of view, there might be a disconnect, that maybe we are not understanding properly, or maybe you guys are not understanding properly. How do we kick that orientation? How do we start it to help alleviate poverty? We already know there's value in what we're all doing. As you can see now, definitely Richard has highlighted the innovative ideas they're doing. He's highlighted major concerns, and has highlighted the threats. So we'll go to solutions, and especially from you, how can we now enhance that, and how can the orientation start?
Thank you very much. I very much want to appreciate Mr. Yepeso and the IBW. It begins with you crew. Fantastic initiative. In the course of his talking, I was just thinking. I thought about the what I call the immediate challenges and the remote challenge. What I mean is that short-term solution and a long-term solution. In my earlier speech, I talked about when we have a people who don't have the right orientation, who don't have the right mentality, the right mindset. Most times, the work done is zero. Now, what I'm trying to push in is the initiatives are all fantastic. There's just there's a parable where I come from, that sometimes the native doctor, the traditional doctor, will be making some medicine, but sometimes, or most times, he or she is not sure if the patient is going to take that medicine. If you have a crew or a group of persons who are enrolled into the IBW, I can assure you that here in Nigeria, as you make progress, you will not have more of those persons again because of our value orientation and reorientation. Here, the value system is you go and make money through Yahoo, and the system celebrates you. You go and make money through ritualism, and the system celebrates you. They give you chieftaincy title, and you marry a second or a third or a fourth wife in this climb. So a time will come, we'll get to a time where you will not have anybody to key into any critical or strategic project that could alleviate poverty. What I'm saying is the need to put the cart, the horse before the cart. I like the initiatives, but I think that value reorientation vis-a-vis the structure that we have in terms of different initiatives to alleviate poverty, that the value reorientation is more important. Now, narrowing down to the question asked, I think, first of all, in this country, we need mass sensitization on our values. First of all, do the youth really appreciate agriculture? because you're concerned for the country in terms of food scarcity and the other indexes we've got within the United Nations and all other agencies that Nigeria is just down below, below the table. And patriotism that gives rise to what we're doing here. So the key challenge now is, do the people, do the youth class between the age of 18 and 35 understand what we're talking about? The answer is almost a total no. We just have a few persons. But I told somebody that when the class of civil servants we have in Nigeria, especially in Delta State, between the ages of 45 to 55 that will soon retire, when they go, we may not have the class of civil servants that will sit down and want to grow within the rank. Now, coming back to the question, value reorientation for an appreciation of what agriculture is in nation building. Value reorientation for an appreciation of the subject matter that we are dealing with. Value reorientation for even the politicians and the policymakers to understand the place of agriculture in nation building. And value reorientation within the wider society in terms of harnessing and tapping into the resource from the diaspora. Now, I take IBWU, I can see it's a fantastic initiative, but I'm not one of them, but I would like to know more about it. But I can tell you one of the biggest challenge they are facing, or they will face, is recruiting persons who will key into this strategic project for sustainability.
Okay.
For example, here.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, for example, here there's a program we call YAGEP, the Youth Agricultural Development Program here in Delta. What we do first is we take the youths from the street and first of all start a detoxification process to detoxify them, because if you give them a starter pack, they just sell it and move through Senegal and Mali and they start hitting towards Libya and then want to go overseas. So first of all, we detoxify them to even understand that Nigeria is a place that is greener than whatever you're thinking about.
Can I ask if that is the? Can I ask if that is the?
Can I just quickly?
It's a state project. It's a state project.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just quickly interject?
Okay.
Sorry. What Eugene is talking about, he already has here on the platform. The orientation is absolutely right. It needs to start from the grassroots. We hope, Eugene, that we don't lose that value of those people retiring, because we still need them to support the younger generation who we hope not to lose. How do we help online? How does the online community, which we are right now, impact? If the silos grow, what is the impact of the silos growing into a big entity? How does that impact on ground? This is my interest. I'm sure some people here probably do things online, agriculturally or mentoring. You know, would like to hear those kind of things as well. Thank you.
All right. Just thanks for that, David. Still on the matter, we're looking at the innovative ideas. I know, Eugene, you mentioned the orientation taking place. Our general consensus is there needs to be an orientation, but we don't know if you guys have already kickstarted a program to support other people trying to support. So the collaboration, the silos that we're talking about, that is a major concern. Do we plan this out? Are we planning this out, or are we just doing them? All right. Before I come back to, let me just hit the nail on the head. We feel that needs to be planned out properly, especially from a diaspora point of view, because there are Nigerians with so many aligned values that, like you have, rolling out programs as well to communities that they already live in here, but they're willing to extend that kind of initiatives back home. But the thing is, we don't know if those collaborations already exist. If they don't, can we plan them out? If they're not there, if we cannot plan them, how do we actually, benefit from the fact that we can give back, knowing what we can do, but there's no connection?
Okay, I think I have a clearer understanding of your direction. Internally, in terms of what we're doing here, with CSOs and the government, there is a collaboration. But the fact is, there is no collaboration or coordination between what is happening within the client and the diaspora capacity. There's none.
Yeah.
Yes, it has not been. It's very much untapped.
Okay, that's really brilliant, because that's where we know we are losing a lot of value. I'll talk to a guy who I know plans a lot, and he works a lot with the diaspora and works with organizations to help with this planning. I think we have Dr. Books on the line, right? Where do you think we are lacking from the planning perspective now? You've seen the conversation. Nigeria has a problem with poverty, right? Part of what our problem is, we have all these facilities, we have all the food, but it seems we're not even planning to be wealthy, or rather, lack of planning is making us wealthy on a level. Books, can you shed some light from a planning point of view, since that's what I know you kind of do on a professional level, and how that is affecting us and making our stance redundant from a poverty point of view?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be in this very laudable forum. I think speakers before me have made some very salient points around the subject of today's conversation. Perhaps I should start by saying this is not my area of expertise, agriculture. My background is civil engineering, but I'm now a lecturer in the University of Manchester, where I teach project management. Okay, so perhaps most of what I would say will be coming from the management perspective and how I view things. Moving forward, I think when I first saw the subject poverty, the first thing that struck my mind was, are we talking about financial poverty or poverty of the mind? So I think poverty of the mind was what resonated with me more. And I think listening to Sandra and listening to Eugene talk about mindset, I think we are in line as far as that's concerned. I think
yes, please. Yeah.
If we can get that right, then perfectly we are in order.
Oh, like you said, you see, this is an open chat, Doctor. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be specific on poverty, just food. It's obviously a general topic, because there is lack of food, there is lack of education as well, and there is lack of just the well-being. So any angle you think it is, it still aligns with orientation.
So that's fine. But I'll come back, because you use the word planning. Okay.
Yes.
I think I'll listen to the pediatrician. I think I missed his last name. His last name is Oye Feso. So, talking about things they were doing in Nigeria, which is great. I think I also liked what Eugene said regarding what we will regard as more like a needs assessment. Oftentimes we feel that because we are in the diaspora, then we have the moral authority to really tell people back home exactly what they need. So I think we should be careful not to recommend things for those who are really wearing the shoes. So I will recommend that while we can hit the target at times, but it's best from the planning perspective to really do a needs assessment. And I agree with what Eugene was saying. You could provide these funds, provide these facilities, and these fellows will just jump into the nearest flight or opportunity, and they will leave. Okay, so I think I will recommend from planning perspective that we really do a needs assessment, and I think that will vary from region to region. Okay, I think it will be very, very important for us to be sustainable. Funds are very scarce, so anybody who is committing funds to such laudable projects must have confidence that it's going to be sustainable. So I will stop by saying that we need to do a needs assessment to really gauge exactly what these people need before we move forward and start investing.
Great stuff, Doctor. I really appreciate that. You see, it aligns with what Tom was saying before. When you look at the thing holistically, right? Why I asked you from the planning perspective, because this is all about unlocking value. Right, we're not picking our pockets, we're not picking holes, and we're not dwelling on negatives. We're unlocking the value. I'd come to you in terms of planning, so we know exactly how things are structured, and you've told us that needs assessment, which needs to be done, must happen. But guess what? David made a point for online stuff to happen. Before, guys know that when you're doing stuff online, the need to do stuff online is based on requirements. It's different from offline. You can't just do anything online and expect it to work. You need to have a needs. You need to have those requirements. So if we go back to what Tom was highlighting, and he put a comment on the group for us, for me, saying David has made a valid point, and he would like to address this issue from an online point of view. So Tom, if we go back to you now, right, look at the situation that what David has highlighted, look at the online value that we can basically highlight and see that keys into that needs assessment, which I know you guys have already done, but it might not be privy to everybody.
We have, and I think the gentleman that just spoke regarding the needs analysis is spot on, but also more to David's point. And this here lies the dilemma with a nation that I was born in 1973 that is one of the most talented nations on earth. And I've defended that in a conference we had at the G20 in 2017, where I had to present on a negative, talking about corruption in Africa. And I had to turn the heads of people and the mindset. Africa is not corrupt, with all due respect. My area of specialization is in financial crime. So I run a consulting firm in financial crime here in the United Kingdom, and we advise governments, oil and gas companies, banks on their financial crime remits regarding money laundering, sanctions, and ABC, anti-bribery, corruption. One thing I noticed with Nigerians is we're so resilient, we're so intellectually capable, and with having the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, one thing I noticed for the future, at least that's my thought, and I believe some people in IBW share that, is we need to be able to compete and move in time with the nations that we see in the world. Why is India successful now? Why is China successful? Going to the agricultural side, 30, 40 years ago, we were one of the world's largest producers of palm kernel. All of a sudden that died out. We were one of the largest in groundnut in Kanu, where you had the groundnut pyramids. That died out. Malaysia is now leading. Where did they get the kernels from? Nigeria. So when you look at that, fast forward 40 years when the world is online now, and I'll give you two case scenarios that IBW are looking at. There's a young chap in Lagos, I won't mention his name. He couldn't pay his university fees. He discovered that working with Upwork and Fiverr, I don't know if you all know this, these are online platforms that help.
I use Fiverr.
This boy makes about £1,000, and I'm not kidding you, £1,000 per day. Dealing with online platforms, helping big companies, multinationals like KPMG, PwC, and our firm design absolutely wonderful Excel PowerPoint slides. Look at somebody in the North, and I put that with a caveat, please. I'm not disparaging the North and the South. There's a lady I know and I grew up with. She's still trying to sell Sobo, the drinks, on the streets. And this is a student, 21-year-old boy who's found a niche. And this is why IBW decided that from an educational standpoint, one area we're targeting is coding. We've got brilliant minds in Nigeria. If you're able to target these kids young to start coding, this is what India started 20 years ago. And this is affecting my business and affecting the funds that we're able to donate to IBWU, because a lot of the big multinational banks are outsourcing due diligence to places like India. And I've argued the sense that why can't we do this in Nigeria? Why can't we do it in Lagos, where we have brilliant minds of students who are finishing from university with no work, whereas we can teach them the skills in due diligence and give them an opportunity to grow. That's just the educational side. So this is a very valid point from David's perspective, which I think we should tap into it. And on a closing note, 30 seconds, it's no surprise that 2-3 years ago, I stand corrected, the CEO of Microsoft and as well as the CEO of Facebook was in Lagos, Nigeria. Yep. It's a no-brainer to tell you why they're there. So I think we need to tap into that, and it's down to leadership, planning, and education, and reducing corruption.
Awesome. I can give you an update on that because about 3 weeks ago, we were talking on education. We've been sitting on education for about 4 weeks. And Eugene, please, because Linda has ears on this, we've been sitting on education for about 3-4 weeks. And part of that was, okay, what can we do? Because we always like to end with good feedback, and everybody gives an idea of what it is, solution driven, right? So part of what came out of that conversation at some point was we need to be able to have buildings to deliver vocational studies. And part of those vocational studies, the key thing that was actually talked about was coding. Coding came up because we know there's no point teaching somebody how to speak Hausa or Igbo or whatever, we have to teach them the language of the future, which is coding now. So there are people as we speak offering their buildings, for initiatives that were created and highlighted here so that people can learn how to code in various places. So it's a case of, you might want to just put an eye on what we're doing, or ask about those kind of initiatives, and it will pop up. So thanks for that, Tom. Going forward, for the sake of time, we've looked at agriculture orientation. We've talked about innovative ideas and lack of ideas. We've looked at the major concerns. We've looked at threats and possible solutions. But on a lighter note, let's look at the diaspora support initiatives that we all know or don't know. So maybe we can look at ways of amplifying those diasporic initiatives and collaboration. If we can use that as a, maybe end on that note, how do we amplify these initiatives, or what are the initiatives? We know about IBWO. If somebody has another one, they can tell us. And then how do we collaborate? This is very important, especially for guys like Eugene, there's Chris Abaji on the call, and there's also Aneni, who I know you guys talk a lot with the diaspora people, right? So how are we going to amplify our initiatives so you can spread that for us, or vice versa? Or how can we, in a way, collaborate effectively? I'll put that one to us first, and then I'll go to Osho before we kind of round this up and go round robin so everybody has a conversation or have a chat about this as well. So also, how can you guys, back home, how can you help us in amplifying our initiatives and obviously enforcing more collaborations?
Well, thanks, Solomon. It's been really, really enlightening listening to everyone talk about what they're doing in Nigeria. I started off just I posted in the group the MBS statistics, because my concern when you were going to talk about agriculture was that the Statistics General has said actually the poorest segment of society are rural dwellers who are engaged in agriculture. So I was a bit concerned, and I was hoping that I would, the ideas that would come out sort of like would tackle the concerns raised in that study, and that has been done. Just to jump on the back of what Tom said just now from IBWU, just yesterday, we enrolled our kids into this program called White Hats Junior. It's a coding program, and these guys, they give online one-to-one lessons from India. And I think we pay about £120 a month for each kid. So people are, just to jump on what he said, people are, and Indians are doing this and creating jobs in India and earning money from around the world. But with regards to collaboration, the beautiful thing about us as politicians is that we're always looking for the next best thing that we can sell to the public. So the reason why I am on this call is that I know that Nigeria is facing a crisis, not just a political crisis. And I'm hoping that we can actually collaborate with anyone who is that has real solution that we feel will work in Nigeria. So politicians are not just on this platform. We literally are looking for the next guy that will propel us to electoral victory. Because the good thing is that the reason why we have to do this is that the electoral process is becoming a little bit tighter than it was in 1999. So we are here, Solomon, I'm here. If anyone wants to work with us in Nigeria, we're more than happy to set up meetings and collaborate.
Awesome. I mean, that's coming straight from you. I'm happy you said that. So let's go into how that can actually work, right? Thanks, Jose, for that, right? I'd like someone else to just highlight on that. Also, from your point of view, right? There is a situation where we know we can collaborate. We know we can come up with innovative ideas back and forth, right? But how do we amplify these things? It's all good we are on a call, but there must be ways that we can amplify our voices collectively as Nigerians, based on the fact that the subject matter being how to alleviate hunger on a level or alleviate poverty. It could be on the mindset as well. So Osho, if you got 1 or 2 minutes, please, just for the sake of time, you can highlight that for us, that'd be great. I think he's on the call. Sorry, you're on mute. You can unmute yourself. Sorry about that.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's about 3 o'clock in New York. Solomon, I want to say thank you for putting this together. It shows that you care. You're thinking about people back home, and that's a big heart. Very good. Thank you very much. Right. Basically, I think that as a Nigerian, we've basically forgotten where we are from, and we've lost focus. And that's my little girl.
Okay.
I'm babysitting today, but okay. But we need to focus on how we get the message across. Just like you guys have mentioned coding. We need to let people know this is the new, I'm coming, give me a minute. This is the new Yahoo. This is the new thing that people are doing to make money. I remember growing up in Benin, and when my dad would travel to Naifo and bring a mango back, we all want to try to make that mango, that big mango from Naifo, be like the one we're planting in our backyard. Right. There is no publicity on the positive. The easiest way for any Nigerian to think they can make money right now is either in politics, Yahoo, or maybe trying to know somebody that would grow you in one bank. Nigeria is blessed with good land. We don't have all the storms, all the earthquakes and everything else. We have the manpower. Like you just mentioned coding right now. If we went on TV and showed somebody making money from coding, every people want to think that this is the new way to make money, and we will start doing it. Awesome. But if we should start focusing on our blessings and think of what we can contribute to promote our blessings and leave our negatives. That's because fine. Our courses are not going to promote us. Our blessings will. We know there's a lot of problems in Nigeria, but if we focus on the positive, maybe that positive will grow a little bit and would empower people to now start that uprising of saying they can have a better life. Right. Because that guy in the village doesn't know any better. If we start model farms, land is available. We can start using this model farm to show people that that small orange you're growing can become a big orange. At the end, when you see people in the village coming to buy houses in Lagos, people in Lagos will want to go back to farming. Everybody feels that it's better abroad because yes, you have the light, you have the basics that the government will give you, but it is still hard work. And we all know that we want to go back there and support our people, but we have to come together and say, what is our focus? Are we going to focus on the negatives or want to improve the positive? Right. Start counting and improving your blessings and leave the curses. When we empower ourselves and change our mentality to a certain level, a guy who's hungry doesn't care about who's in power. All he wants to do is eat the next meal. But if he has a farm that he can look up to and say, you know what, if that is good, I could be that farmer tomorrow. Right. Because this guy comes from the diaspora, invest in the guy that already has a farm, and it's an example. They need examples. The only examples they see right now is the politician, is the Yahoo boy, and is the banker who has found his way to the top, and at the end is just consuming the money. All in New York, a banker will not be able to mention. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
I was going to say, let's keep it at the how, because I know obviously, like you were saying, a lot of value in there, right? We have already covered certain things that has been mentioned, right? We know we're struggling, but how do we amplify these things is what we're trying. How do we amplify those collaborations? Let me also thank you very much for that, because I got one or two things from you that I will definitely bring up back in a couple of minutes, right? Let's look at it from the value-driven point of view, and we can end on that note for the next 10 minutes, where everybody gets to at least, give a minute or two based on nuggets, right? We've gone through all this. We've talked about it. Ty kicked it off with the Constitution being flawed. So if that Constitution is right on the level, and we do alleviate poverty, what values are we looking at? Because we're not just doing it for doing sake. There must be some value in there. So Sandra, if you can highlight one from your point of view, it could be based on your opinion or as a collective. What values are we looking to unlock when we do get rid of poverty? So maybe that will help drive our orientation.
I think for me, the value that we're trying to unlock is giving our people the pride that we've always had, and we seem to have lost. Because now we have places like, our young ones dying on the Mediterranean Sea. They go to Libya and being mistreated. They go to different parts of the world and they're not being treated fairly, or they're not being treated as human beings even. So for me, it goes back to this humanity aspect of it, which is basically we're all human beings. We all deserve, and we all have rights. We all deserve to be treated as human beings. So if we can unlock all of that, I think it will give us back that pride in ourselves as human beings, that we can, wherever we are, wherever we find ourselves, we can excel.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I got from that, we need to get our pride back. So if we do get rid of alleviate poverty on any level, it's 100%, you're right. There's a sense of national pride that would automatically come through. And let's hear from Eugene. Obviously, Eugene, you work a lot with people in terms of orientation. Just from your point of view, we normally end on this positive note where we say, okay, what key values can we unlock from alleviating this poverty that we definitely want to get rid of? It could be mental, it could be physical. So what are the values you're looking at?
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the core values, in my perspective, is creating an enabling environment for the youth to take over there today, for Nigerian youth to take over there today ahead of tomorrow. This is because recall the discussant mentioned something that needs assessment. If you break it down to regions or states, for example, some of us can talk authoritatively with some air authority on what happens, at least in the South region. We've also heard here, what that Nigerian look at, the youths are looking at. You have they're talking about, when you talk of job, you talk about politics, you talk about Bet Niger. I'm sorry, I don't mean to demarket any institution, but Bet Niger, playing a pool, Yahoo, or traveling abroad.
Right.
And if we are able to, get the youth back into the right thinking, we can have a hub of people who have the right mentality to train the trainers. That is, we can have a hub where we have, for example, 50, 100 persons with the right mentality, giving out the right orientation, and that would enable us in creating an environment for the youth to take ownership of their Nigeria ahead of tomorrow. Once the youth are able to take ownership, patriotism will be embedded. Leadership will be embedded. Productivity will be embedded, and most importantly, corruption will come to the lowest ebb, because at that point, when we take ownership of this country, we put the country first. So, like we've been talking about, everything's about the mindset. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I mean, you've unlocked a lot of value, but one thing I'd like to mention is that we already have mentoring programs as well, which aligns with what you were saying. And I would like to follow you up on that on any level, because we are trying to do that mentoring. So we mentor the mentors and then going forward. So thank you. What I got from you is enabling the right environment for us to be very, very productive if we can get rid of hunger. All right. I'll go to Anuli now. If you can wrap it up for us, please, on your own tip. Only, how do you, from your own perspective, what are the key values you if we do alleviate poverty, what values do you think would come out of the Nigerian?
A lot will come out. Being in my 30s, apart from being a pharmaceutical scientist and a trained manufacturer, right, I'm also a qualified food production engineer from Teesside University.
Can you put your details?
I own a farm.
Contact, just in case.
Sorry?
Can you put your details on the chat at some point?
Okay. I own, one of my masters was in food production engineering, which I just rounded up with Teesside University last year, and it was for a purpose. I own a farm, which is 27,000 heads of plantain. I own another farm, which is in palm plantation. I could tell you that taking about 4 people there that are under the age of 29, it changed the whole perspective. Today, one of them has a farm in Ofuze for 4,000 heads of plantain. The whole suckers were from my farm, okay? And 2 of them have snail farms. One of them is in Warri, and one of them is in Agbo. The thing is, I'm trying to back up what one of us said here. We need to show them that that is the new way of making money. Once they know it, a lot of potential to be unlocked. We can't do a lot from the diaspora, but what we can do, in my own perspective, is to support the things already happening there. A lot is happening. We need to support it, and we need to now showcase it. I went to Nigeria, spent 4 months, and came back, started up the farm. And today, this is our 4th year of having the farm. We've had at least 4 people that just get suckers free of charge from our farm. Yes, it's on me, but it's not. It would have been something I would have loved to sell. But the only way I can encourage them is to give them the free suckers. Right. So I think a lot of people that are even having bigger farms are there. A lot of people, because to be fair, agriculture now is the new Yahoo, if you ask me. Is one of the easiest ways for the youth to make money. So one thing, let us support those at home already doing something. Second thing, let us advertise it to the youths, to the young ones. Come and see what is happening. Then a lot of potential to be unlocked. Thank you very much.
I really, really love what you just said, that when you said we need to advertise, showcase it. That's exactly what we're doing. That's what the platform is all about, enhancing engagement. So you clocked on that 100%. Yeah. I'm glad you did, right? Because progressively, this is what it is really. So thanks for that. So I'll go to Mr. Alohan now, just to say, from your point of view, it could be either as an individual, as a collective. How do you think we can alleviate, or rather, sorry, when we do alleviate poverty, what values are we looking to unlock from doing that? Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Obooks, for creating the opportunity to be here. And since I've been listening, I've heard a lot. Everyone is talking about farming. People like us were born into farming. My ancestors in Benin were landowners. And yet, here I am in the UK. You know, I have abandoned vast assets to be here in the UK. What a shame. I thank you all for reawakening that spirit in me. Just within the few minutes that I've been here, it's been uplifting. Thank you so much. Now, let's come straight to Nigeria. A lot is being said about Nigeria, potentially a rich country. You see, one of the merits, or one of the advantages that we have as a country, is our sense of community. Our sense of community is so high in Nigeria. In the UK, that doesn't exist. And community leverages the divide between rich and poor. From community comes social capital. That is a quality. That is a package. That is a merit that we can harness, build into our local systems for effective development, for effective infrastructure in agriculture, which of course is at the crux of what we are discussing here. We can package our communal life into those systems. Community means that we look after one another, that we are our brother's keeper, and that has been the sense of our ancestors from time immemorial. You know, without sense of community, the tendency to cheat is not there. That is what is lacking now. We no longer think of one another, okay? And every time corruption is creeping in so heavily, to the extent that there are significant capital flights leaving our country. You see, it's one thing to be corrupt, but worse than that, or worse at the apex of corruption is capital flight, creating jobs elsewhere. So jobs that could have been invested in developments are finding, monies or, loots are finding themselves in foreign countries, creating jobs there. Those work never returns back, as it were. So we have to look inwards, tap into our deepest resource, and that is our sense of community. Understanding our sense of community to leverage that problem that we have. Those of you that live here in the UK, you would agree with me that childcare is one of the highest outgoings in every home, childcare. Now, why is it so? Why is childcare? Because our sense of community here in the UK is zero. Now, with our sense of community.
So basically.
Sorry?
Sorry. So we need to tap into our sense of community. Brilliant.
Yeah. Community
Solomon.
comes.
Doc, you see, what we are, I'm sure, because obviously I think get where you're coming from, because if we do alleviate that hunger, alleviate poverty, then we have an increased sense of community. If that's not your key point, then please correct me. But I'm stressing that that's the main point, that if we do fight to alleviate poverty, we will get a huge sense of community, which is what the country is kind of lacking on the level. I'll go back to Ty. Now, Ty, I know you kicked this off with us in terms of, hey, look, from your point of view as the constitution, that's not really working for you. And that's obviously cascaded down to a level of poverty. But now what we're saying is that, fair enough, we've gone through the whole thing. We've looked at it from a productive point of view. We've looked at innovative ideas, and we've actually seen examples of things that are working. So there is progress there. There's collaboration going. So what is your expectation in terms of, okay, if we do alleviate poverty, right, what values are we looking to unlock? Or rather, switch it around, what values can we unlock when we alleviate poverty? Say we get the constitution right. What values can come out of it, Ty?
Okay, yeah, in my candid opinion, I think when a society increases the support for agriculture, then we can start to talk about unlocking, and strengthen the labor rights. Perhaps distribute from the rich to the poor through progressive taxation. Spend sufficiently on universal quality public service, right, that suits each region. Strengthen the land rights of the poorest people. Make education a priority, and increase in entrepreneurial and digital skills among. There is no way we will have hunger with all these things I've mentioned, but these are not priorities of who the policy makers are, and that's how I'm going to close it for tonight. But I think for the benefit of those who are listening, we still need a constitutional amendment, a change that will pave way for progress. Thank you, Solomon, and thank you.
I like what you said there. I like what you said that these are not going to happen unless things change. But that's why we are conversing. That's why we have these platforms. That's why we have the collaboration going, and that's why we're breaking the silence. So that people who need to hear it will hear it. It doesn't have to be immediately. It could be 2-3 weeks later. And then it can be amplified. Exactly like Aunli said. If we don't keep on shouting and banging it, the door is not going to open. So I'm just going to bounce over to Tona. Tona, if you can help us with, hey, look, from your point of view. What are we looking to get when we unlock and alleviate poverty? All right. So.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I think quickly, let me say thank you to the DG for coming in, and Amule, my people, for joining in. Excellent. Thank you all. On a quick one, we've spoken for too long. This is the time for action. Somebody said needs assessment. I would say comprehensive assessment. But let's take that apart. Nelson Mandela said, talk to a man in the language you understand. When we begin to use agriculture, as Amuli said, as a behavioral platform to change our people attitudinal and behavioral wise, right, they will begin to see the benefits of agriculture. Obasanjo did that very well in the 70s with Operation Feed the Nation. If we can begin to show our youths that with farming, you can be better than the guy in London and America, it will begin to change their behavior. So it is not to speak or to legislate morality. We can use agriculture as that platform to begin to change the behavior of our youths. When they see, our people say seeing is believing, they'll begin to change. And that is critical. Then number two, with the collaboration between diasporans. For example, we have Eugene, who's my tribesman, the director for Delta State Orientation. With somebody like that, they can partner with us to say, come to Delta and let's work together. Seeing is believing. Anwule is doing that. That's what we need to do. And I think we need to keep talking. We need to now elevate it to the next action of going down. That's why I said 2 weeks ago is a microcosm thing. Go to your state or your town, start something. Right. Be an ambassador. Show the youths. When they see, they will begin to believe. Move away from corruption, behavioral change. That is it. Thank you very much.
Well, guys, fantastic. Thanks a lot, Tona. That is excellent. The key thing about this call, like I said, it's not really structured. It's not, it's not a meeting. It's not. We don't give accolades to people per se. We just make sure we unlock value as Nigerians. That value is cascaded down to individuals, to institutions, to organizations, and then effective collaboration kicks off. As we've seen occasionally from here, people are willing to offer their services. The group from IBWU as well, they're already doing stuff on ground and going forward, looking to collaborate on so many levels. In ending, it would be nice if Sandra can end it for us. Just to, from your point of view, value-driven delivery there. What values can we unlock as a whole, just based on your expertise and experience, and then we can call it a day. This one has extended for more than an hour. So please, Sandra, if you can help us with the closing, that would be great. And we'll be looking forward to next week where we will talk about parenting, especially how do we make sure we put our women first. So I should be excited.
Thank you, and thank you all very much for joining in tonight and also contributing so much. I've learned so much from all of you, just listening in and taking it all in, and some of it I'll follow up after this session. For me, I think we've got here on this platform, every week that we do this, apart from last week, is a start of something big, I see. And I see post-COVID, a situation where we kind of have a conference of like-minded people, just basically breaking down those areas that we've talked about tonight and other weeks as well into actionable steps. I think Tono mentioned that the time has gone where we just keep talking about this. Mm-hmm. We've got to go out there and start doing. And it's good to see that a lot of people are starting to do that. We're all starting to do bits. Be it silo at this point in time, but we can come together and collaborate and kind of synergize where we've got those synergies and make sure those actions are actually making impacts. I think it's brilliant to have this actually starting to shape up really well into things that we can all be proud of, looking maybe, I don't know, in 10 years time or whatever, to say we were part of that discussion. We were part of that shaping. So what I would say is to encourage everyone to continue to talk and to engage on this platform and bring on board ideas, the people that we haven't even touched, that we don't know about, but you know in your network, bring them along and let us have real conversations and start to map out actions that we can work together collaboratively to make Nigeria a brilliant place for our generations to come, because legacy is critical. We have not been good in terms of protecting the legacy of Nigeria, but we can always start. It's never too late. So thank you all very much. And thank you, Saul, and thank you, David. That's it from me.
Thanks, Sandra. Every week when we do this, we always meet huge surprises. I personally would just say, for the guys who didn't get the chance to talk, trust me, this hasn't happened before. Everybody gets the time to talk, but it's just because of time. If you're here next week, we'll pick it up again and then we'll run with it. We'll give feedback on what has been happening, because a lot of things has happened from these conversations. We're here to enhance that conversation. So feel free to jump in, jump out, or listen in. Our point is to enhance it, showcase it, and most importantly, to amplify it in alignment with what Aaron said on the level. So the guys who came first, Eugene, Aaron Lee, to the guys from IPW, all I can say is really well, thank you very much. Guys who didn't get to talk, thank you very much. And hey, let's see where we are next week, right? If you got time again, join in, please. So thank you very much for your time, but we've got to go. Yeah, thank you.